Today on Wrestling with Cards, the final part of the 25 most iconic wrestling cards of all time. We're into the top 5. But who's going to be number 1? Are there any surprises? Stick around and find out. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. As I stated, this is the final part of the video series we've been doing for a few months now, covering the 25 most iconic wrestling cards of all time, as voted on by you, not me. I abstained from voting, actually. This is all you, the viewers, the listeners to my podcast, the wrestling card community on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else that people are out there collecting wrestling cards. You guys sent your votes into me, I tallied them, and I put these videos out for you. But at the end of the day, who's going to be standing tall? Who's going to be included in that Mount Rushmore of the most iconic wrestling cards? Who will be at the top of the wrestling card mount? But before we get into those top 5 cards today on this video, let's go back and look at how we got here and all the cards that came before these 5. $1982 Wrestling All-Stars Andre the Giant. You know this card had to make an appearance on this list. One of the most iconic, important Andre the Giant cards ever to come out of all time, and in now this famous Wrestling All-Stars set. Andre cards for collectors just seem to never go out of style. It was, however, a bit surprising to me to see this being the only Andre the Giant card that made the 25 list. But if you're going to pick an Andre the Giant card, this is the one I would pick. It's a great choice, a great representation of him and his legacy. Many people consider this card to be part of the big 3 in the Wrestling All-Star set. But who are the other 2 cards to own in that big 3? And why haven't they made an appearance on this list? 1987 Topps WWF Bret Hart. Wow. This is a surprise to me. Now, is it a bad card? No way, this card rules. But is it a top 5 iconic quality card to make it onto this list? Apparently so. This card is widely viewed by many and pretty much consensus that this is the Bret Hart rookie card for the people that care about those things. It's a great image of a young Bret Hart. It's in that awesome 1987 Topps design that everybody loves. But that's it. Nothing flashy, nothing shiny, there's no autographs, there's no serial numbers, just a basic rookie card. But one more point I want to make with this one. When we see the top headline sales, here we are talking about iconic wrestling cards. When you see, The Rock making that TMZ sell or some of the flashier, more modern stuff come out, you never see Bret Hart in those cards being talked about in that upper echelon of sales. I know he had a Black Prism come out in more recent times this year, but you just never hear Bret Hart's name being mentioned with the Macho Mans, with the Hogans, with the Flairs, with the Andres. Until now in this list, I guess. But I say all that to say that Bret Hart actually has a pretty big collector base. I'm always seeing people on social media in groups talking about, I'm looking for this Bret card, or I love Bret Hart, I want more of this card of him. But you just don't hear about it as much. It's the I don't even know. It's not really a loud minority or a vocal majority. I don't know. I mean, Bret Hart made it onto this list for us today because the collectors are the ones who voted on this. So maybe the collectors should be voting on the content that's put out there for the collectors. I don't know. But this is a fantastic card. I love it. I've owned multiple of these at times, had to sell them for numerous reasons. But it still is a surprise to me to see this card make it into the top 5. What do you think? Do you like this card? Do you think it deserves that top 5 spot that everybody voted it for? Let me know in the comments what you think of this card. But we're not done with the surprises yet. 1991 classic WWF Undertaker card number 64. Another surprise in my opinion. No, not because of the card. I had a feeling this card would be on this list at some point, but because of the placement. Number 3, the 3rd most iconic wrestling card of all time. I also thought that maybe that 1991 Merlin Undertaker would actually overtake this card because I know there's a lot of popularity around those. But I was totally wrong. Apparently people prefer this card over all the other Undertaker rookie cards that exist. Like I said, I knew this card had a huge collector base around it, but I just didn't think it would get this high, kind of like that Bret card. But hey, it's always fun to see surprises pop up like this. And it's fun to kind of compare to see what the collecting community as a whole, how they view certain cards or sets compared to what you personally view them. Either way, we have a base rookie card of The Undertaker in that classic 1991 Undertaker look. In fact, this card alone and the other Undertaker cards in this 91 WWF Classic set It's pretty much the whole reason people are still out there buying packs and buying sealed boxes of this stuff, hoping to get a few of these and get them gemmed. Card number 2, 1982, Wrestling All-Stars Ric Flair. Come on, you know this card was going to be on the list.
And don't think for 1 second this has to be a mutual admiration society.
Just a classic. Wait, I already used that pun in the Undertaker. Okay, moving on. Here you have one of the best 80s representations image-wise of Ric Flair. And it's in the now famous, infamous 1982 Wrestling All-Stars set. And some people consider this to be a rookie card. And this is one of the cards that belongs in that big 3 along with Andre and another card we haven't talked about yet. It must be a terrible card because we haven't talked about it. It hasn't made the list. But this card appeals to everybody. It appeals to pop culture. Ric Flair has transcended wrestling into pop culture. It appeals to the collectors wanting to build out rookie card sets. It appeals to collectors who want the biggest and best cards of the biggest and best talent in wrestling history. Or sports card collectors that want a Michael Jordan, a Babe Ruth, a Ric Flair. Just kind of that variety PC, and this is one of those upper echelon cards of Flair. And going back to that big 3, you know, I mentioned Andre, and I mentioned Flair, and there's that third card that we're missing, and we haven't talked about it on this video series yet. What do you think it is?
I have a funny feeling who that third man's going to be.
'82 Wrestling All-Stars Hulk Hogan. I'm honestly sure this really isn't a surprise to anyone. While this card may not check all the boxes for some people when it comes to considering it an official rookie card, it is clearly one of the most iconic wrestling cards of all time. In fact, some people have said the same sort of things about the 52 Mickey Mantle. I think that card's done okay for itself, wouldn't you say? Many people have compared these two cards and kind of consider this Hulk Hogan card kind of the wrestling equivalent to that 52 Mantle. So let's talk a little bit about the set once again. We have the set lore as a whole, the 82-83 Wrestling All-Stars. We have the talent and the names featured in this set. The collecting community that is really hardcore with this set and prides themselves on knowing anything and everything about the history of the set. All of those things a little bit controversial in some aspects of the wrestling card community, but the numbers speak for themselves. This 1982 Wrestling All-Stars Hulk Hogan was voted on by you, the viewers, the listeners, the wrestling card community. You guys voted this number 1. The most iconic wrestling card of all time. And there you have it, the 25 most iconic wrestling cards of all time. We did it, we made it. What do you think about this list now that we're finished? What do you think about the cards that we've talked about in the top 5 today? Do you agree, disagree? Do you have all these cards? Or are you trying to go after these cards? Or any of these cards your grails? I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Let's get a discussion going around this list and the cards we talked about today. And when you're done leaving a comment, make sure to check all the links in the show notes for all of the ways you can help show your support for my content that I'm continuing to put out for you each and every week. Until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content in the archives of this channel. Lots of good stuff out there for you to watch. Until next time, see ya.